Hello and welcome to Bernadoodle's Barnyard. So my name's Renee. I raise meat rabbits as one of the main proteins for my family. By raising my own meat, I also take on the responsibility of those animals, and I feel it's my duty to waste as little as the animal as I can. So we eat all the meat. I take all of the bone carcasses and make bone broth out of them, and anything I don't eat goes to my dog Boris.
Bernadoodle's Barnyard, homestead of right arm, bringing back tradition, living in God's nation. Bernadoodle's Barnyard.
Hey guys, so I butchered 28 rabbits the other day, and today I'm packaging them to put them in the freezer. And since I'm short on time, I'm doing the quickest method I know. So I use a Food Saver vacuum sealer. Works great. This thing is ancient and it's still running. Eventually I'd love to get one of those big chamber ones, but this simple, inexpensive one from Walmart just does the trick. And then I buy gallon vacuum seal bags, just the least expensive ones on Amazon. They work good. I really like parting out the rabbit. I really like deboning the rabbit. But when you're short on time, the quickest way to do it is just put a whole rabbit in a bag. And the best way to do that is vacuum sealing it so you don't end up with a frostbite animal. So I do them as tight as I can like this. I'll do one for you so you can see how I fold it up. And this way it fits in the bag nice and the bones don't poke through the bag. So here's one of the rabbits. Just take the back legs, break them towards the rib. Then you take the sharp end of the back legs, tuck it under the rib cage. Stand it up on its butt so they don't fall out because they aren't tucked in there that well. And then you take the front arms and you tuck them under the back legs so that the pointy part of the front arms are hidden so they don't rip your vacuum seal bag. So just like that. And then you lay it in your vacuum seal bag back down. Then you vacuum seal it like this. I use the larger vacuum seal bags because the gallons tend to have less water wick up and they seal a little better. The quart size is just a little too tight for a whole rabbit. So even with the big bags, my biggest issue is when the moisture is sucked out of the animal. If it gets too close to the top, it won't seal. So sometimes at the end, I shut off the vacuum and just seal it. If the meat juices get a little too close to the seal and I don't feel like I get it a really good seal, I'll put it in again, a little further in or a little further out, and I'll do a double seal just to make sure. Like that. All right, guys, now I just want to talk to you real quick about age of butchering. So typically, I'm aiming to butcher as close to 8 weeks as possible. But mostly I'm over towards the 13-week range, which is a little higher than I'd like it to be because the longer you're raising them, the longer you're feeding them for the same meat. My goal is for a 5-pound grow out to average out to a 3-pound carcass. So this one here, 13 weeks old, about a 3-pound carcass. So yes, you can raise them longer if you want more meat per animal. If your goal is to butcher the least amount of animals possible and get the most meat, then go for older animals. But you're losing out a lot of things if you do that. So this is one of my culls. Right? That's a big rabbit. See the difference? This one had bunnies at 6 months and raised them for about 3 months. So this is a 9-month-old rabbit. In doing that, you lose out on growth rate at a certain point. So the reason why it's best to butcher them at this age is because they've done the majority of their growing in the shortest amount of time in those first 3 months. You're gonna get the most meat for how much feed you're putting into them and the most meat for bone ratio, because they're gonna start putting on thicker bones, which you're paying for, and more fat, which you're paying for and not eating for the most part. So that's why you butcher young. This one here was a much older cull. She's a massive rabbit. So there's a difference there. This is a full adult. I believe she was 3 years old. So you can see all the white, thick silver skin on her, and she had lots of fat. And the reason why you prefer this one over these two also is because the meat on these two is going to be really tough. You're going to have to stew it or ground it up because it's going to be almost inedible just as is. Obviously, younger animals tend to be more tender. So yeah, just a comparison for you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Drop any questions in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. So I have 4 of these older culls right now, and I'm just choosing to debone them, which is a lot of work, but I think overall it'll be more edible. So I'll either use it as ground meat, maybe a meatloaf, or if I feel motivated, maybe I'll make some rabbit sausage, which is supposedly really good. I've never made it before. So one of the big hurdles I've been facing is the fact that I don't like the taste of liver. So the organ meat has been going to Boris completely because I just mentally haven't been able to reach the point where I'm ready to eat that meat. Today I'm going to try a new recipe to try and use the organ meat. Hopefully it's something I'll be able to eat. So one of the ways I've been able to eat liver in the past is my uncle made a liver and rice sausage. He did it with venison, but I'm going to try it today with the rabbit livers. I butchered 28 animals the other day, so I have a bunch of livers, kidneys, and hearts. I also have deboned meat from 4 mature does, so that's a large bowl of meat, and I'm going to add some pork lard into the mix to make it taste good. I'm also going to add, some spices, paprika, garlic, onion, salt, pepper. So I cleaned up all the organs, chopped off all the parts I didn't want to eat, and I've had them soaking in a salt brine overnight, so that should remove a lot of the blood and make it taste a little better. So as you can tell by the color of the water, the salt brine has removed a lot of blood. All that pink is blood, so I believe it should make them a lot more mild tasting. And here's the big bowl of livers. Here's about 10 pounds of that rabbit meat. I have 1 more animal to debone. I'm going to strain all the organs and the meat, get as much liquid out of it as possible. It's a lot like chicken, so when you run it through the grinder, it's very wet, which is good, but at the same point, it adds a little too much moisture to the sausage, so I'm going to drain as much out as I can. So I'm going to get the last animal deboned, get it all ground up, mix it really well, and I'll show you the final result. I'm also going to go start the rice maker. I think I'm going to start with 4 cups of rice. So this is what I have left to debone. It's a whole rabbit plus 2 hinds from another. While I'm at this, I'm also going to make some bone broth. So I have some raw carcasses plus some roasted ones that are full of spices. I'm just going to cover these with water and cook them for 90 minutes in the pressure cooker. I get my Gourmet pressure cooker going here. Now that I have all my bones ready, I did fill the water to the max fill line. So this thing is really easy to use. You just cover it, turn it to close. I'm gonna pressure cook, so we're gonna wanna put it to airtight so it starts to pressurize. And then I'm doing it as a specific time, not a preset. So you just do pressure cook time and you have to hit for every minute. I'm gonna go all the way up to 90. Using my OXO Good Grips food scale. I love this thing. They last a long time. This pulls out so you can have a big bowl on there and still see your display. The scale maxes out at 11 pounds, so it's going to be 11 plus 2, so 13 pounds, 2.2 ounces is what I'm starting out for meat. And I did not cut out any fat, so it's not the leanest meat ever, but it's also not the fattiest, so I think adding pork fat is necessary for making sausage. All right, and added to that, we have almost 5 pounds of organ meat. That means I have 17 pounds of meat. I'm gonna start out with 4 cups of rice and go from there, see if it seems like it needs more. I can always make more. I'm gonna start out by grinding in 1 pound of the pork fat. Okay, next step, I'm just gonna add 2 cups of long grain rice to my Aroma rice cooker. This thing's lasted me 6 years and still going strong. Just don't use metal in it. It'll last forever. So just 2 cups in there. I'm gonna put 4 cups of water and then just flip the switch to cook it. Normally when I'm making rice to eat, I like to also add olive oil and spices in there to cook, but since this is going in a sausage, I think plain is fine. All right, I'm just gonna get my Gander Mountain meat grinder going here. It's really simple to put together. So, it has a screw here. Screw this piece on. You wanna make sure there's a seal on your auger here. Put that in. Make sure the flat side is out on your blade. Pick your plate. I'm doing the bigger grind. I'm going to double grind it with this. And then screw that on. So I'm gonna run all the meat, organs, and fat through this machine, and then I'll mix in all the spices. I wanna get this done now, but with the rabbit meat, it is really better if you partially freeze it first. It goes through the grinder better, and it's a lot less sloppy. So this is probably gonna make a big mess. So if you have the time, please do freeze it partially. It'll go through a lot nicer. The organ meat's rather unattractive when you grind it up, but I gotta say this was a lot less gross looking than when I did the venison liver, and it just kind of splattered where I cooked that up for the dog. All right, I'm gonna try something now and hopefully don't break my grinder. I have a bag of frozen garlic cloves. I wanna try to just run it through the grinder. I think they're soft enough. It's probably about 2 heads of garlic. So that's good to know that the grinder will do the garlic like that. I'm going to run my onions through it that way too, because that's just a lot easier than having to chop them all. On the second ground here, I'm trying to grind together the organs and the meat so that it is a uniform color and taste. And it's looking a lot more appetizing now that I've mixed the livers in with the rest of it. All right, next I'm gonna take these 3 giant onions, cut them just big enough to fit in the hole for the grinder, grind them up, and then I have to go on a scavenger hunt for the pork lard. Who knows where it is? It's somewhere in my freezers. I don't use it very often. So grinding the onions worked really good, but it also made like tear gas in my kitchen, so I wouldn't suggest it. All right, I'm about to grind up the pork fat. And just so you know, this is a Gander Mountain machine. It is made by Lem, L-E-M. So if you're looking for the same machine, that's the brand that makes it. My husband, a long time ago, went to buy me a present. He thought he was buying me a bowl about half the size, and he got me this beast. I never thought I'd use it, but when you're making stuff like sausage and you need a big bowl to mix stuff in, it's perfect. I'm gonna get everything mixed up, and I'm gonna make some into patties, and then I think I'm just gonna freeze some as ground up, and maybe I'll use it as a filling for like stuffed peppers and stuffed cabbage. All right, now everything's just gonna get hand mixed together. There's my lard, rice, onions. Here's all the meat. Mix it all together, and then I need to go grab some spices and mix those in. Thank you. Starting with 4 tablespoons of the salt. This is all to taste, so I'm going to cook some after I'm done mixing everything and see if it tastes good before we call it done. Added 2 tablespoons of fine ground pepper.
That should be like 8.
So it's like 4 to 5 tablespoons of granulated garlic. Those are halves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, do 4 of them. That's a lot of meat.
It's a little clumpy here, and make sure you try to break it up some.
It's very sticky. So we'll see how it does for patties. Would you mind getting me a pan with some hot oil going so we can try one? So it tastes really good. I did cook it in seasoned beef fat, so it's hard to say what flavor comes from the beef and what's coming from the actual sausage. But there's zero like liver taste to it. Very mild, yummy. I think it's going to be an excellent like stuffed pepper type filling. The bone broth came out a beautiful golden color. So this will be a beautiful soup later in the week. And all the leftovers, when they're cool, will go to the chickens in the morning and they'll pick those clean. They love the meat. I give the chickens a bunch of compost. They also get all of the bones after I do my bone broth, and they pick all the meat off the rabbit bones. Here are some of the stuffed peppers I made out of that sausage. I'm going to put some of my homemade marinara on top of them. We've been eating the rabbit sausage all week. I just made the last of what I didn't freeze into some stuffed cabbage. I have 2 trays of them. They should be delicious. And I froze 7 pounds. I made some rabbit bone broth soup. Just took it out of the fridge, and it's a solid mass of gelatin. You know that's going to be a great soup. There it is. I went downstairs to get Boris his dinner. So when I butcher rabbits, I give him all of the trimmings and also the heads and feet. And he is so excited. He knows when I come in from butchering, even when I'm all washed up, that it's been butcher day, and he follows me around because he's waiting for this stuff. Super gross, but dogs, heaven on earth. Boris is bringing a rabbit head outside. The yummy. All right, go play in the snow. Go. Go. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We'll see you next time on Bernedoodle's Barnyard. Have a great day and stay safe, guys.